Hi, we're building a little
Hi.
traffic. How are you, Jen?
Fantastic. I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm so good. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to speak with you today, and and kind of explore all the amazing things that are coming forth in your life. I'm just waiting for a little bit of folks to trickle in while we're there. We
While we're
go.
waiting, there we go.
Folks are coming in. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the loving room, the Rhythmia loving room.
I love
Welcome.
that.
And everybody, I'm so grateful that you're joining us as people are starting to stream in. Thank you for joining. And I'm so grateful to welcome you all. And I'm super grateful to welcome Jenn Sodini, Miss Jennifer Sodini, who is a dear friend of mine and an amazing individual. I'm so grateful that our paths have crossed. Among many things, Jenn is a producer of conscious events. She is an author. She is a podcaster. She has an amazing website, Evolve and Ascend, and other affiliate websites. I can't even recall all of them. And she has oracle decks, and she is a mystic and an esoteric knowledge hound and an amazing being and a loving person and someone who's walking the path. And can I go on? There's more.
my heart might explode.
What did I miss? What did I miss? I know there's stuff.
And we work together with Rhythmia. So.
Oh, and the social media director at Rhythmia, the director of social media. Is it director of social media or social media director?
Director of social media.
I like DSM. So welcome, Ms. Jennifer Sodini.
Thanks, JJ.
So grateful to have you here. And you have what I'm really excited. Oh, wait, first of all, we got to say hi to Danny. Danny, how you doing? Joshi, Sherry, Ingrid, thank you all so much for joining us. But Jenn, you have a new book coming out.
Yes. So as synchronicity would have it, today's broadcast wound up working out perfectly because tomorrow, December 1st, my next book is called Everyday a Mentee. It's a 52-week guided journal based off of the 42 ideals of Ma'at, the 7 hermetic principles, and the 3 alchemical principles. So it's 52 weeks of meditation and creative prompts to help you tap into a feather light heart. So this is the book, and it comes out tomorrow. So I'm very excited about it.
Okay, so the 42.
42.
Amat, 42. Tell us about Amat and the 42 principles.
So Ma'at, it's M-A-A-T. Some pronounce it as Mayet. She's an Egyptian netter. A netter is a god, goddess, force of nature. Basically, she is the goddess of justice and balance and order from chaos. So in the Egyptian Book of Dead, in the Hall of Judgment, the weight of your soul is believed to be measured against her feather. And if your heart is as light as her feather, you can pass through to the next realm. So the 42 ideals, when you are in this confessions, which are, I've not committed sin.
Jenn, I don't know if it's on my end or your end, but you're breaking up a little bit. Hi, Jenn. You're frozen. Can you hear me? Okay, well, we're waiting for Jenn to get back on. I want to say hi to Bruce and John and Suzanne, thank you, and Selah from San Francisco. And there's something wrong. It looks like the sound is bad. And I don't know if it's on my end or your end, Jenn. Oh, it's Danny's saying he can hear me just fine, but that you're breaking up. So it must be on your end, Jenn. Well, okay. So while we're waiting for Jenn to come back up, I want to just say thank you guys. Thanks for the feedback, by the way. And also, so Jenn is talking about the 42 principles. Oh, we just lost her. Hey, it's me. Hi. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about something that I know about, which is also what Jenn is talking about with her book, are the 7 Hermetic principles. Has anybody been working with the Kybalion or any of the Hermetic principles? These are amazing, amazing principles that are channeled supposedly from Thoth, the Egyptian god of knowledge. And the Kybalion is an amazing book. One of the principles that has been so profound to me has been the principle of duality. And we say in spiritual principle that all all duality can be resolved into a singular source, right? So that all duality comes from one source, and that's here's Jenn. She's coming back. Hey.
Full moon, I guess the internet went out. Take 2.
Mercury's in Gatorade.
Mercury Gatorade at it again. So I don't know what the last you heard, but
well, you were starting to talk about the Featherlight ceremony and what happens in the ceremony.
Yes.
And so start from there.
So in the Egyptian Book of the Dead, in the Hall of Judgment, the weight of your soul is believed to be measured by your heart. And if your heart is as light as the feather of Ma'at, or Mayet, some may pronounce it, then you can pass through to the next realm. But during this weighing of the heart ceremony, there's something called the 42 negative confessions of Ma'at, where you say, I have not lived in sin, I have not. We did the opposite, which is the 42 ideals of Ma'at, which are more powerful affirmations. I benefit with gratitude. I am forgiving. I honor virtue. It's all tenets of living in alignment with a featherlight heart and staying sovereign in your highest self.
Nice. Oh, how beautiful. And what are some of your favorites of those tenets?
I am forgiving. That's my absolute favorite one. In the deck, although it's based off an Egyptian principle, we decided to go more universal with our card definition. So everything has pearls of wisdom from various wisdom traditions throughout time and space. So in the I am forgiving card, we talk about the practice called Ho'oponopono, which is I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. So it's a really great practice when you're going through conflict with someone else to just simultaneously love and forgive yourself in the process.
I just did, some forgiveness work with a client. I was working with a client, and it was very clear that what she thought was forgiveness for her ex was really self-forgiveness. And this, that all forgiveness is self-forgiveness, right? Can you speak a little bit about that and how it relates to the principle of forgiveness?
For sure. One of the greatest pieces of advice I was ever given was that the fastest way to win an argument is just to admit that you're wrong. And I think that's the hardest thing so many of us struggle with, is just admitting our own fault with life's adversity. And it's not a spiritual bypass to say, like, I need to forgive myself or I need to take accountability. What it actually is, it's like a spiritual way through. Instead of just ignoring something or placing blame on the other person, when you take accountability and forgive yourself and are gentle with yourself, that reflection outward is so profound. Then you become empowered instead of it being a victim of the other person.
Yes. I want to just open up also. I want to say to all those beautiful folks that are listening, send in some questions. I see Nushin is here. Nushin was just recently at Rhythmia, and a lot of folks, Debbie, and lots of folks that have been here before. So if you have any questions about how any of this relates to plant medicine, anything around any of these tenets or principles, send in a question and we can answer them. Jenn, when you were in Gatorade, I was riffing a little bit on the 7 Hermetic principles and starting to talk about the law of duality, which is one of the things that's most resonant with me right now. What Hermetic principle, do you want to speak a little bit about what the Hermetic principles are, and then tell me the one that resonates or is resonating with you right now the most?
For sure. So so when you think of something that's hermetic, right? If you've ever heard the term of hermetically sealed, it's airtight nothing can get in. So basically it's these occulted principles that have been airtight throughout the ages. But if this tenet goes, if you have the ears to hear, you'll be able to listen. If you have eyes to see, you'll be able to see. And within these principles, they give you a landscape for the mental universe. So the first Hermetic principle is that the all is mind. So being in a spiritual space, working plant medicine, understanding rhythmia, knowing the power of your mind as this portal to new realities, new awareness, that thought your reality, and not just in some woo way. This is actually a governing universal principle that the Hermeticists and occult sages of days gone by have known for a very long time. So out of the 7 Hermetic principles, I'm really resonating to with the principle of polarity, because I've really been leaning deeper into like Lao Tzu and the Tao Te Ching and reconciliation of paradox, and understanding that while everything is held in a container, it's actually the emptiness that's useful. So finding a way to reconcile these paradoxes and understand that like there's the material, there's the immaterial, there's the light, there's the dark, but they all work together to offer a greater perspective so you can tap deeper into realms of mind and spirit.
And I'm really loving lately from a biblical perspective, right? That how biblical statements fit so well with this. For instance, there's one of the Psalms that says, "The light and the dark are the same to thee," right? And I always was like, well, that's not true. Like light's light, dark's dark. Like how can you like? There's even from a Christian perspective, there's good and evil, right? Like how could good be evil or evil be good, right? And then this sort of explanation from the law of polarity helps to explain the ultimate unity behind all apparent duality, right?
Completely. And it gives you kind of this key where, you know, in Buddhism and esoteric Buddhism, they talk about how certain passages will have an inner, outer, and secret meaning. So you could read something in the Bible and at first glance, it's just like taking it at face value. But then it becomes alchemical as you look deeper at these principles and then find a way to apply it. So kind of piggybacking off of what you said, looking at the Gospel of Thomas, there's a passage where they say you make the two become one so that the male is no longer male and the female is no longer female, and there you'll enter the kingdom of God. I'm paraphrasing, but if you can look at it from a lens of a hermeticist or an alchemist, you talk about the two hemispheres of mind. It's not necessarily gendered construct. It's like, how can I merge logic and intuition? How can I merge left and right? How can I merge the masculine and feminine consciousness so I can be completely aligned with the highest version of God, which is everything?
Well, and I've really come to understand lately that that all spiritual growth is harmonizing apparent disparities, right? Yeah. And just as you said, how can I harmonize my analytical mind and my intuitive wisdom? How can I harmonize my my light side and my dark side? It's not putting one out and, you know, bringing the other in only. It is this balancing and order and harmony. And to that point, Nushin, so there's a couple questions that came in. One, Robert had asked, do you only do ceremonies on full moons? No, we'd only have like, you know, one ceremony a month. So we can do ceremonies anytime. But at Arrhythmia, we do 4 ceremonies a week, Monday through Thursday. And there's all sorts of great ceremonies that can be done around the full moon. I don't know if you want to say anything about ceremonies and full moon, Jen.
Yeah, no, one I also point to kind of combining ceremony and this reconciliation of paradox. I would love to touch upon the fact that even our shamans at Rhythmia say, you can't have the sweetness without the bitterness. The bitterness is there to show you the sweetness. The sweetness is there to remind you of the bitterness. It's this balance when working in the medicine space. And you look at it like phases of the moon, right? You can, anytime you do ceremony, it's going to be your perfect time. But if you look at moon phases as an archetypal kind of imprint to connect to. So when the moon is full, it's the full like lunation. It's the full shining a light on what you want to bring into the world. But then also the new moon is equally powerful, because the new moon is when you plant those seeds of intention so that by the time the full moon comes around, they blossom and grow. So, I mean, it's all good. Whenever you do it, it's always meant to be.
Beautiful. And then Nushin had a statement that I thought we could also kind of share about. She says, when I was stuck in the medicine, Brad told me that you would not get out of this state until you forgive yourself. It was hard, but I did it and felt healing. but it's not a one and done process. We have to continue forgiving ourselves as we peel the onion. And, you know, I'm really in that realization that all spiritual growth is more about hygiene, right? It's really hygienic in the sense that, you know, it's not like you brush your teeth once and you're done, right? You got to keep brushing, you got to keep flossing. And this is our process of spiritual growth. Jenn, I don't know if you want to say anything about that.
No, I think that's such a great point. It's never healed. It's never healed with a period. It's healing ... Healing is not linear. Healing is a process. I love the idea of looking at it like a ritual. You wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you make sure that, you know, everything is good before you exit and go out into the day. Spiritual practice is an everyday, all day experience. And anytime that you think you have it all figured out, I especially to a new holiday season, I think Ram Dass, the quote is like, do you really want to see how enlightened you are? Spend time with your family on the holidays.
Oh my God. So yeah. True. So true. So, you know, tell me a little bit more about what the process of writing this book and what, you know, I know that writing itself is such it's a birthing. So what were the insights and revelations that you had as you wrote this book?
Well, it's funny. Writing a book, the book is also kind of like writing you. It's this weird thing where you're working in tandem with creative force, creative energy. And a lot of what came through in the process was exactly what I needed during the time. So this is something that I think can speak to space and those who are coming to Rhythmia. Integration is integral. Greatest integration tools that you can give yourself: time to meditate, time to journal, time to reflect. So looking at, you know, say you go to Rhythmia, then you start a journaling practice. You have 52 weeks to continue to embody, practice, and create that ritual around what you've received, the insights that you've received and are now. So every passage, the journey of like the 42 ideals of Ma'at and the 7 hermetic principles and the 3 alchemical principles. So, you know, I'd be sitting and wondering, like, how can I write a meditative prompt off of gratitude or embracing the all, or, you know, one of the 3 alchemical principles is salt. So it's like, how do I write a meditation on salt? And what does that mean from an alchemical perspective? But it's trust and surrender and flow. And it was a healing process to write, and I'm excited for the book to heal others as they receive it and work through it.
And I love that, you know, you have 52 weeks to deepen this practice, right? That's a beautiful exercise. Shelley is asking, will the feeling of not being able to relate to others that haven't experienced Rhythmia get lighter?
Absolutely.
And I want to speak to that, and I want you to speak to that. My first thought is, what's really coming to me is this, you know, sense of spiritual growth as the ability to be present to everything that is exactly as it is, without trying to push anything away or reject anything, and just being with it. There's a certain sort of, I mean, that is a huge spiritual practice, to open up gently to life. And so as we were talking about, you know, how spiritually enlightened are you? Spend time with your family and see, you know, and it's really that, like, how can we get lighter around the way we relate to others? And another Ram Dass quote is, if you want to know the truth, give up your opinions. And so I find myself, especially with my family, Shelley, I will tell you, I get very opinionated and judgmental around them. We have very different political beliefs. We have very different understanding of spirituality. You know, some of them are fundamentalist Christian. And how can I be more loving in my heart when I'm around them, and not have to convince or persuade my fundamentalist sister or my Trump-loving Republican brother about the rightness or wrongness of my opinion? That is such a huge practice for me. And I think that's what you're referring to around not being able to relate to others who haven't experienced Rhythmia. I feel like this is how can I get lighter around it? It's that you lighten up, it's our job to release all of this need to change and to alter the experience in some way, right? And I have a feeling, Jen, you have something to say around this. What you want to jump in there?
Yeah. So I love this quote, and rest in peace, Alex Trebek. But there was a quote based off of Jeopardy that says, some of the best answers in life come in the form of a question. So when we're in situations where we're feeling triggered or not able to relate, it can be really difficult, especially when you have your first medicine experience. That's a major initiation. It's an initiation where you literally step outside of the matrix and see things so differently, and then have to be dropped back in and say, well, everything I thought I knew was wrong, and now I can't relate to anybody, and I just feel like, how does everybody not know this now? But that's a phase of the initiation. When you get past that and can learn to just ask questions and be present for it all, you can find that you can learn from everybody, even those that you don't have anything in common with anymore. You might find common ground, and that's through using questions to guide you. A really common impulse, I think, like after we have the initiation like this and have this like total insight into the universal awareness that we're all one, we want to shout it from the rooftops, but not everybody is open to receive it. We talk about hermetic wisdom, and that those who have the eyes to see can see, those who have the ears to hear can hear. Not everybody's going to hear you. So I love remember when the dress thing went viral and some people saw it as gold and white and other people saw it as blue and black? You have to understand that nobody's ever going to see the same thing that you're going to see. So ask questions, and it'll help you process and guide and learn how to navigate everybody better.
I love that. And people are liking the question with questions as well. I was watching, I totally got hooked into The Crown. I hadn't watched it yet. And so now I'm like, I kind of binged a little bit this weekend. Anyway, there was one scene where Margaret Thatcher is, at dinner with the royal family. And she says something that is just completely like off tack, right? Like just completely incorrect and inappropriate. And someone says something to her like, "Oh, how could you ever think that? That's absolutely a ridiculous thing I've ever heard." And instead of taking offense at it, she said, "Why is that?" And I thought, I was like, wow, that's a great, like, I would have totally been like, ooh, oh, the royal family, or, whoever it is, even, it doesn't matter, royal family, it's somebody who I, am intimidated by, let's say, who says something that is demeaning and maybe putting me down. And instead of taking that on and railing against it, or a sharp retort or a barb, giving as good as I get, that question, oh, why is that? What a brilliant way to diffuse. So someone just quoted, "The lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding." Right on, Ryan.
Yes.
Okay, we got a lot of people. Wait, there's some big questions coming in. Let's look. Can you see the questions too, Jen?
I can.
Okay.
Maybe not.
Kufel,
Down.
I'm struggling right now with depression, and I feel like I'm losing my balance. I just recently lost my relationship, and because of that, I can't keep up with my job. And what you said about not feeling connected to anyone really resonated with me. I'm torn as to whether I should settle with what's comfortable, which is sticking with my 9 to 5, even if it's sucking me dry, or take time while processing everything and work on my own healing. Any advice to go about this would be of great help. Do you want to take a stab at that?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm always going to encourage the path less traveled. You can always find another job. You can always find another thing to do. You can't always get the time back that you have now. So I am of the firm belief that the greatest investment you can make is in yourself. And whether that's a month, 2 months, however long, to really discover the core of what makes you you. And if then that month it's a lot of crying, a lot of anger, a lot of whatever you need to shed, what no longer serves, give yourself that space. Because if you don't, things fester and decay, and then you find yourself 5 years from now wondering why I didn't take that time. I think the greatest thing you can do is choose the path of love and to release fear and trust. Surrender. Surrender is a word that will help us navigate not only like the 3D life experience, but also the medicine space, to surrender into the unknown and to trust it. Because what's on the other side of it could be more than you ever could have imagined.
You know, Jen, that is exactly, surrender came up for me as I was reading that. And, you know, surrender has 3 components: trust, faith, and patience. And the beautiful thing about surrender is that it relieves us from having to know. Kufel, and I hope I'm saying your name right, you're saying, you know, I don't know whether I stick with my 9 to 5 or not, or should I stay or should I go? And this is all this hamster wheel of thinking. And when you give it up to God, give it up to source, give it up to something greater than you, and play. And the truth is, there's an organizing principle at work that is organizing everything right now. It's organizing the mitochondria in your body and transmuting food. There's an alchemical process that's transmuting food into human consciousness, right? As you eat, that's all organizing going on in your body. And that same principle is active. And so when I surrender something to the law, to the principle, and allow it to be organized, that requires patience, because you know, I have to give it up, and when that occurs, it will occur in its time. It requires faith that I know and can see empirically that there is something organizing life within me and organizing life around me. And so I know that there is an organizing principle. So there's the faith and the trust that I can see in the process. As I release that and let the how go to the wayside, how, what to do, what the next course of action is, and continue to step off that hamster wheel, continue to release every time that thought pattern starts. Should I do this? Should I do that? What about this? All the reliving the relationship, not to bypass it, but to just, as Jen said, step into that state of practice, taking the road less traveled and releasing, just stepping off the hamster wheel, keep surrendering it, and the correct course of action will reveal itself. What you should do will reveal itself. Surrender has been a big part of my 2020. And as you said, Jen, so beautifully, it's also part of the medicine experience. Let's see, there's a question. How do you lighten your heart?
So, forgiveness. That I think is at the top of my list always. Forgiveness, gratitude, embracing every moment, clearing your mind of limiting beliefs, which is easier said than done. But when a negative thought comes up, you know, one of my clients, JJ, you know, and I've interviewed as well, her name's Ora Nadrich. She has a book called Says Who. So she talks about when a negative or fear-based thought, like, well, says who? Says who? Where is this coming from and why? Repatterning your mind to not give energy to the thoughts that are harmful or cause like boxes of belief. That helps to new bounds. And just, you know, looking at love not necessarily as like this quid pro quo or a thing to attain, but a consciousness to embody. That's another really great tool, alchemical tool, to say like, no, I'm not seeking love, I am love. I'm not trying to find love, I am love. Mm-hmm. I'm not trying to take love, I'm trying to be love.
Absolutely. And you know what I think is, you know, the holiest people I've ever seen or met have a childlike joy about them. They're just in joy, and they're kind of funny and in humor, right? They're light. Their voice sounds like a gentle babbling of a brook, right? It's this work that exactly what Jen is referring to, the work that we do to just sit in silence sometimes, to begin a meditative practice, to take a walk, to be in silence and allow something. It's like cleansing the perceptual windows of our soul, when we do those things. And the more we continue with that spiritual hygiene, we tend to get lighter and we tend to stop taking ourselves so seriously. And let me tell you, I'm not sitting here speaking to you saying that I do not fall into the trap of taking myself seriously, because I do. I take myself so seriously sometimes. It's a constant process.
Completely. I really relate to that and agree. There's this quote, and I have to paraphrase it because I don't have it memorized off the top of my head, but it talks about soul loss. And in certain shamanic cultures, they say, like, when did you stop dancing? When did you stop listening to music? When did you stop laughing? Those are the things to like remember, to like rekindle your connection to the soul. And laughter, I've fallen into the same thing. I've had this conversation so many times recently where I've gone through phases of taking myself so seriously. And now, especially because this year has been hard for all of us, but challenged like families and loss and there's a lot of grief. And now it's just like, I just need to find things to smile about and laugh about. And it could be just looking at silly meme accounts or doing something to tickle your soul each day to remind you that like nobody gets out of this alive. Remember to laugh and dance and listen to music and just enjoy being this precious human life.
And I also want to say to that, that it's okay to feel the way you're feeling. Like sometimes you just have to, you don't want to pitch a tent in sadness and despair and guilt and shame. But there's an important part of not bypassing your anger or your sadness or your fear, right? It's super important. You know, it's easy to say, oh yeah, just, you know, take yourself less seriously, laugh and dance. But sometimes what I'm feeling is so heavy, I've just got to be with it. And in the observation of it, like just first saying, you know what, I'm really sad today. I'm really heavy today. That in itself gives you a little bit of space between the observer and that which you are being observed, the sea of consciousness and the content, which is the thoughts in our mind. And so that's the first part, is just acknowledging and observing it. Oh, that's what that is. And sometimes even just naming it helps. And then we can step down to maybe some other, like whatever you're angry about. You might say, you know what, that's not cool. It's not cool that my brother did that. It really sucks. Like you can be a little indignant about it, right? So now you've stepped down from just raw anger to a little bit of indignation. And then when you're ready, you can move into a lighter, more loving kindness. Don't take myself too seriously. But it's really hard to go right from, you know, this feeling to lightheartedness. And so I want to just say that's been a big piece for me recently, is to allow myself to feel what I'm feeling and to acknowledge it. So I just wanted to add that.
I agree. Definitely.
I had oh wow, we're getting Ryan. I want to acknowledge that you have a text there, and I'll look at it in 1 second. We had a lady here last week at Rhythmia, and she was Russian, and like really, you know, hard. You know, she went to ceremony Monday night, and she came out on Tuesday morning, and it was a beautiful, oh my God, she was like, this is beautiful, oh my God, I got it all, it's amazing. And then she went to ceremony Tuesday night and had a really tough night, and she was angry and mad and sad. And I was talking to her Wednesday morning, and you know, it was just like, this place is bullshit. I can't believe you. I want to know what was in the medicine. What are you doing to me? This is ridiculous. I just spent the whole night. And, you know, she was very upset about the way it was making her feel. And, you know, she's not going back to ceremony. And I knew that what was coming up to be healed, that what she was dealing with were the very areas that she was looking to be healed. Looks like we lost Jenn again. I knew that was coming up for her to be healed. And so I just said, look, just observe it. Just observe what you are experiencing. That's all you have to do. And observe how it's making you feel. That's all. And sometimes that's enough. So she went into ceremony on Wednesday night and Thursday night, and she came out Friday morning and said to me, she asked to speak to me, and I was like, uh-oh, you know, and because I really felt like I missed the mark with her when I spoke with her earlier. And she said, you told me, she said, you told me I must watch. I watched. I was like, well, thank you. And she said, I realized that I had to go through that sadness and that anger, that it was being taken from me. And I had to go through it because it was being taken from me. And that was such a beautiful reminder that sometimes what we're feeling is not coming to stay on us, to glom onto us, but what we're feeling is going. What's coming is going. That's one of the principles we teach here, that it's coming up for us to experience. It's being reflected back to us because the nature of the universe is reflective, and it's being reflected and revealed so it can be healed and let go. So that's why I was saying that it's important to acknowledge how you're feeling and to not bypass that. And now Ryan's saying that you found an analytical blueprint to the mind that can find a person's insecurities and their core desires. I need someone who understands the spiritual side of psychology. The Freudian educated think I'm crazy. Well, you know, I'm more of a Jungian. So that's cool. Absolutely, Ryan, we can do that. And I'd love to hear what you have to say. And I just want to take this moment to say, it looks like Jen might be texting in. I just want to take this moment to say how grateful I am for this time and for all of you joining us. This, you know, our original guest was ill, and they just said, I'm so sorry, I'm so sick, I can't make it today. So Jen agreed to pop on, and we had such a great time with her. And I'm so honored that you all stuck around and stayed. And I just want to say how grateful I am for all of your comments and questions. And I'm just wishing you much love. And I love this phrase to say that, may you be led to an ever increasing good, to an ever expanding field of awareness, and an ever deeper connection with the source of all of life. And I'm just sending you so much love and so many blessings. And thank you, thank you, thank you. One thing Mark asked about, can you tell me about our miracles? Mark, that's another, there's a bunch of stuff on YouTube. Go to I Got My Miracle. You can just type in Rhythmia, I Got My Miracle, and a bunch of videos on YouTube will come up for you. And I am so grateful. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Peace and richest blessings, everyone.